Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Legend of Dez Podcast. My name is Rick Hernandez.
And my name is BB.
We have been married for going on 15 years. Let me answer that for you. Going on 15 years this May. We had the idea to share our experiences with everyone. We've had a lot of ups and downs, like many couples do. But I think we learned a lot of things along the way. We're fortunate that we've been able to stay together and work through some very difficult times. It's my dogs. Work through some very difficult times. And we still don't have it all figured out.
No.
There's still a lot for us to work on. And like I said, though, we just wanted to get together and share some topics, stuff that we learned and stuff that we're still learning, in case maybe it helps somebody else out there.
Yeah.
So the first several episodes we're going to do on the Legend of Dez podcast is going to be about marriage. And like I said, just us getting together and figuring out, what we did right and what we're still doing wrong, right?
Well, basically, this is the time that we scheduled so that we are doing something together.
Yes.
Because I'm so busy with work.
Yes, she is a successful entrepreneur.
So, yeah.
Busy
we're making time for something that is important.
Very important. Alone time. Well, not really alone time. We're sharing it with you guys. So.
Yeah.
But anyways, you want to get to the meat of the business right now?
Sure.
All right.
I'm just your assistant.
Oh, you are more than just my assistant, my love. All right. So today's topic is going to be things I know now that I wish I knew then, before I was married. And there's a lot. I've got a list of stuff, but I'm sure the list gets longer every day. I always find something else that I wish I had fixed ahead of time. If I only knew a little sooner, if I only knew what those lotto numbers were for next week, I'd play them now. It's kind of the same thing. So the first thing on my list here is, should be easy to understand, but there's a lot to it. Trying to be a good man isn't enough. That's one of the first major things that I realize, that I wish I knew then. I always thought that being a good man was good enough. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to be a good man. I only go out with my buddies on Friday nights, and I only do this and I only do that. And, I'm there. I pay the bills. I take care of the house. I'm keeping up with my job. I'm paying for everything, I'm a good man, and I fooled myself for a long time believing that I was honestly a good man. Looking back now, I see that I made a lot of mistakes. I messed up bad, actually, and thank God that my wife has patience, or had a lot of patience. Her patience has gotten shorter, but that's okay because I've gotten better. But one of the big things is I thought being good was good enough. What are your thoughts?
Well, initially when you said that phrase, I'm thinking then what defined a good man for you? Where did you get the definition of a good man? Because you didn't grow up in a family where there was a husband and a wife that stayed together, right? Your father left you. So I'm wondering where you based your idea of a good man is. And to be honest with you, meeting you're just a good person, right? So that helped a lot.
I don't even know if I was a great person back then. Well, you met me after I had my first child, and that was a life-changing thing for me. I struggled a lot prior to my first daughter being born, just with not taking life serious enough and not having drive and not even accepting responsibility for my own actions. And after my first daughter was born, I knew I needed to give her the things that I didn't have. I needed to give her the attention because my father wasn't there. He left when I was, I don't know, probably 12, 13 years old. And I didn't see him until, a couple of years ago. And even then, that was a bit anticlimactic. But I wanted her to have the upbringing I didn't have. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. You asked me, what did it mean for me to be a good man? I didn't know. I was guessing. I don't really know. I had this idea, of what it meant, but it changes actually after you get married. Like, things that I thought I was doing that were good suddenly weren't so good anymore. You know,
give an example.
Probably the way I treated women, and not that I was bad to women, but the way I would jump from person to person. I would get tired of a relationship quick, and I made a lot of mistakes, you know, when I was younger, when I was trying to meet people. I wanted to settle down and find the right person, but it just, for me, I never had the patience to learn. And this is one of the things that, you know, continue on that I wish I knew then, you know. Fortunately, I asked my wife to marry me, you know, within like 4 days of meeting her, because I was like, if I didn't do it, if I didn't pull the trigger, she would have got away, and then, you know, I would have been lost. I would have been I would have been miserable. So, but back to being a good man. I think now I realize the definition of a good man isn't really being a good man. You really have to be excellent. You know, it's something that Tony Robbins said. I heard him say, and that's if you want good result, if you put in good work, you get poor results. If you put in excellent work or effort, you get good results. If you put in an outstanding effort, then you get excellent results. You know, and I was always aiming at being a good man, and I wasn't getting the results. I wasn't happy. We weren't happy in our marriage. We had a lot of issues and a lot of problems, and just I always thought to myself, well, I'm keeping up my end of the deal, like it was some kind of deal that we were supposed to be making with each other. You know, it's not a deal. It's a commitment, you know, and it's two people promising to do everything they can to take care of the other, you know, and I wasn't looking at it that way.
For worse.
Yeah. You know, and for me it was, well, I'm not happy, so, you know, I'm not getting what I need out of this. I wasn't putting in the effort, you know, and I just didn't realize that in order to get great results from my marriage and from my family, that I had to put in outstanding amount of effort, you know, and I'm still working on that. Like, this is a work in progress. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm far from being the greatest husband and father. I'm working on it hard, but I made a lot of mistakes along the way. But that's something I learned. Oh, you don't have anything, do you? Let me give you the next note that I have.
Well, you know, I'm perfect at all.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you have anything that you can think of that you wish you knew then?
Well, to be honest, like, I grew up, you know, with marriage as once you get married, there's no turning back. There's no, like, getting out. You know, I was raised Vietnamese Catholic, so my parents stayed together, and I've watched them go through, like, the most difficult times. You know, I mean, I can't imagine being married to you and then at 26, 27 get separated, like, worlds apart after my parents left Vietnam. You know, my dad was, like, in the Philippines, and then when we got to the Philippines, he was in America, and we stayed back for 4 years. So it was just like, that's a long distance without the communication, without the phones, without anything, and they're able to still stay faithful and married.
Yeah. How long have your parents been married? Do you know? It's a long time.
So I'm 40, so 41 years. Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, like, me growing up, seeing my parents sticking through it, through thick and thin, through better for worse, and that was, like, worse, right? That you know, it was never like, how do I get out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had that. You know, that's one of the things I didn't have growing up. You know, my parents got divorced when I was really little. I was, I don't know, 5 maybe. I don't even know, earlier than that. And I grew up mostly with my mom, but there was a lot of personal drama growing up, you know, with my family and the way we were brought up. But I didn't have that good example of, you know, what a good marriage looks like. You know, like I said, what a good man looks like. You know, so it's one of the things that I'm learning now, but I wish I had known it sooner, you know. So one of the other things I noticed is being the leader of a family doesn't mean making all the decisions or getting your own way. I always thought, at least when we started this marriage, you know, I thought, you know, as we built our family and the kids came along, I thought that if I was the leader, I need to be earning the money and I need to be making the decisions, you know, and that determined, in my mind, that determined who was the leader. That gave me the leadership role, you know, I thought. And there was a lot of a lot of back and forth with my wife because, she didn't agree with some of the stuff I was doing. And looking back now, I was wrong in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I did, however, reverse roles with her at one point, several years ago, where she became like the breadwinner. And I made the opposite mistake. I felt like since she was the one earning all the money, and I was like the stay-at-home dad, that I needed to give her more control. I needed to relinquish more decision making, and I didn't stand for things that I really believed in, or things that were really important to me. I let go because she's the one earning the money and making decisions. She's sort of in the leadership role, and I'm just learning now that no, I'm sorry. I'm just learning now that. Okay. Sorry, we're checking times right now. That's our first podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're working out time and everything.
Thank you to our assistant, Phoenix,
yeah,
for managing the music and the
Phoenix,
timer.
you do need to stay out here, though, if you're gonna be out here, okay? Because
No.
All
right, so we were on the topic of leadership role, and whoever earns the money makes the decision. But
Yeah.
I felt like, regardless, that transition would have been difficult for anybody, especially for you, who...
It was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And I handled it the wrong way. Like, I handled it absolutely the wrong way. And when I say I handled it the wrong way, I was relinquishing control of direction of our family to her, and I wasn't maintaining integrity. I wasn't doing the right thing still. I was resenting her for being in the position she was in, even though it was my fault for creating this situation. The decisions I made caused her to be in the position of authority. Not authority, but her in the position of monetary authority, I guess, the one who was making all the money. And then I was mad at her because I felt like she was in charge, instead of realizing that A, I could have done a million things to help her further us as a family. But B, I was the one with the kids, and I was still the leader. And the kids were learning all sorts of bad habits and excuse making from me because I was not, taking it the way I should have taken it. I wasn't handling myself the right way. Oh, and I didn't know that. I didn't realize it. I was struggling emotionally with the situation. I felt like I was weak because she was making the money and I was at home. But, I found much later on, that that's not really what was supposed to be happening. I was supposed to be strong at home and strong taking care of the kids and strong, finding other opportunities or helping her with the opportunities she had. And I didn't do that.
So which is why we are doing this podcast, to kind of help those that were in our positions.
Yeah. If you're a guy and you're not the making more money in the house, that's okay. If you're a guy and your wife is driven and motivated, that's okay. If you have your own goals and drives that you want to achieve, that's okay too. You work on those things, and you should have a mutual understanding between you guys that you both have things that you desire and that you want to work on. But if you don't have tons of drive and you're like, man, I just feel like a loser. Well, no, you help your wife at that point. You help your spouse. You try and help her be better. If you can't figure out exactly what you want to do right now, then you put in the effort to help her be better. And that's the only way to fix it, because otherwise you're just going to feel miserable that she's leaving you behind. And I felt like that. I felt like she was getting so amazing at what she was doing and creating so much that I was just being left behind.
Yeah, but you didn't realize that you cover every other aspects of our life, as in the caring for the kids and the cooking and the cleaning and all the things that I'm not very good at.
Yeah. She told me, I got to tell you,
before we got married,
she told me
already warned you.
Yeah, she told me she wasn't good at cleaning, and that that might be something I didn't realize to what extent. But I'm great. I'm embracing it now. Now that I realize what she meant. Things, if I would only known sooner.
What, would you have not gone through with it?
No, I would have gone through.
I mean, I tried. I was a stay-at-home mom for like 2 years, I tried doing the laundry, and I attempted at cooking, and you even bought me a whole like chef.
Knife, yeah.
Yeah,
Knife set,
I mean,
yeah.
I was good, not
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but she couldn't wait to get out of the house. So she didn't like me. And some people just aren't built that way. My wife definitely was not one for staying in the house and doing housework. She was always pumped and driven to go do something great, you know? And it absolutely made sense that we should have switched roles, because I like hated what I was doing. I was a restaurant manager for years and years, like 20 years. And I hated it. And she wasn't happy staying at home, and we were both like miserable on top of each other, you know? And when the roles reversed, you know, she embraced what she was doing, because finally she's getting to go do something that she was interested in, that she loved, you know. My wife, by the way, she's the owner of One Stop Salon here in Chicago. You should go check her out, BB One Stop on Facebook. But
we just opened up a beauty school, One Stop Beauty School.
I told you she's driven.
Location.
Yeah, but she was so driven at what she wanted to do that I almost felt inferior, you know. She was driven and I was sitting at home, and I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, and it was the wrong way to see it, you know. There's a lot of years gone of me, you know, honestly drinking and stuff just because I was not happy about it, instead of doing something about it, you know. But things wish I would have known then, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything? I got the next one.
Go ahead. You're the one with the notes.
All right, yeah,
You're
I got my
prepared
notes ready for this.
honey. I'm just your assistant.
Everybody wants to hear
pretty.
you talk, though. You look pretty. You sound pretty too. Okay, here's a big one right here, and this is something I wish you know it, but you don't really understand it till after you have kids and they start getting older. They watch everything you do, how you talk, and how you act. This is something that you're like I said, you're cognizant of it, but you're not truly aware of it. You know, until you see your kids barking at each other, or they're mistreating each other, and you're like, man. And they're saying the exact same phrases that you say, and then the wife looks at me and she's like, "That's you," and she's not wrong. You know, my son gets mad over nothing and then snaps at my youngest, and then she has a terrible attitude. She pushes his buttons on purpose, and it's like all the things that I do to them, you know, they're now doing to each other, and it's like, oh, I see it, and I wish I would have known sooner. Now I'm trying to correct that, but it's hard once it's already learned. My kids are mostly grown. My son's 16, my oldest daughter's 18, and my youngest is 12. So like, they're already, you know, formed into the people that they're going to be, at least for the next few years, and I'm working on trying to soften them up a little bit. But I did a lot in front of them, and said a lot, and acted a lot of ways that I should not have acted, you know, and I didn't know. I was drowning in my own self-wallow, and I didn't realize at the time how big of an impact it had on them until she pointed it out.
Well, hindsight is always 20/20.
Oh, it's this conversation today, all about the sight of the hind.
You're so funny.
All right, so we're both happier when I try harder. I guess this is sort of an ongoing theme right now. It's my fault, total responsibility idea that everything that happens in our relationship is a direct result of our own individual efforts. You know, it's my wife puts in a ton of effort into what she's working in, and she's so carefree and shoots from the hip that I'm so tightly wound, it drives me crazy sometimes, and I recoil. But really, she gives her best effort at everything she does, and I criticize her about her spending enough time here, but that's probably because I feel inadequate with a lot of the things that have been going on. Like I said, with the kids and stuff, they seeing them act the way I don't want them to be, and it's an image of myself, then I tend to ride her a little bit more. But ultimately, the whole thing comes down to, you know, we're all happier when, as an individual, I'm trying harder, and I know my wife is doing her best, you know, to achieve the things and be successful. And successful isn't just meaning, you know, monetary, but it's meaning happiness, really, you know. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's true. One of the things that that you tell the kids all the time is two of the most important things that you want them to be is be a good human and just be happy.
Yeah, that's the only two rules I have for them. Like, literally, I tell them that constantly. Like, 2 things I want for them. I'm looking at my youngest right now. What are the 2 things, honey?
To be a good person and to be happy.
Be a good person and be happy. Yeah, that's it. That's be a good human and be happy. So, and that takes effort. That's one of my points actually down here. I'm going to jump down.
It doesn't really come natural. You have to work at it.
Record?
It was an alarm. It was an alarm.
Oh. And then actually, I'm going to jump down to a different point that I have right here. Let's skip down with my left hand. That happiness doesn't just happen. It takes hard work, and it's a practice, like gratitude. This is something I wish I had known a long time ago. And I really, I pray to God and I thank Him every day, and I'm trying my darnest to be more grateful because we had a really rough year over the last year. But something I absolutely learned now that I didn't know before was that happiness doesn't just happen. It's not. You might get lucky and have that occasional night where, yeah, it was a great night, we had fun. But truly, putting effort into your marriage, putting effort into your relationships, that's the only way you're really going to be happy. Expecting it to just come natural, it's just all automatically going to be easy. That's not life. That's not reality.
Yeah, it's kind of like us making an effort to host this podcast, making an effort to going to all of our therapy sessions.
Yeah. We go to therapy every week. We were having some issues a few months back. We've been great the last few weeks, but you never know, like talking to someone, well, and this is something I don't even have in the list, though, talking to somebody really is key. Like, we wouldn't have waited so long. Yeah, we wouldn't have waited so long.
I mean, we tried at the beginning of our relationship where it's like we pulled in like my closest friend and his closest friend. Like, I mean, you're always going to go through those moments where you're so upset that you just can't see a solution to your argument or your discord, right? And so you're just like, I don't know. I just don't know. It just has to end. But, for me, it was never like, it can't end. So we had to, like, bring in help. So back then, we didn't have the money to go to therapy. So I called in my friend Nicole, and he called in his friend Jeff. And, they're mutual friends. And they weren't as biased, right? Because, they kind of helped us translate what the issues were. Because sometimes hearing it from somebody else is you can hear it better than coming from the person that you're arguing with.
Yeah, she can tell me something till she's blue in the face, but I won't listen. And she's the same way until it comes from somebody else. And that's part of you get this sort of spouse blindness thing going where you telling them something, it makes sense, it's a good idea, but they can't hear it from you. The moment one of their friends says it to them, then they're like, oh, that's a great idea. And you're like, I said that 1,000,000 times. But I realize now I need to just start going through her friends to tell her some of this stuff.
Hey, can you tell Bibi this?
Yep.
Yeah. That's why, like, it's good to have, like, a good group of friends to be around. And you want to be friends with people that are working at their own relationships and not the ones that will feed into your negative desires.
If you're around people who are making excuses for their own lives and the situations they're in, then that's probably not a good person to get advice. It's probably not a good person to surround yourself with. We've gained people and lost people along the way, even just in the last 15 years of our marriage. And it hasn't been easy. Some people that we were close to for a long time left, and then people we didn't know all of a sudden quickly became real close. So like. It definitely, ebbs and flows with life. But, you're definitely, it's true. You are the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who are having difficulties in their marriage and they're not happy, they want to end it, they're pointing the finger at the spouse all the time, really it's ultimately about responsibility. If you're around people who don't really take responsibility for their own actions, then, that's going to rub off on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's another one. This is a good one. This one actually took me a little while to get to. If my relationship, this is something I wish I knew now that I didn't know then, and it's if my relationship is strong, I don't need porn. this was a real moot point for a while. Like I wouldn't even talk to her about it. She would get upset,
Mm-hmm.
and
And then
I
it
would.
becomes where you were hiding and
Yeah,
you
and
were erasing browsing history.
I always felt growing up, as a guy, that's what guys do. That's what guys look at. It's normal, you know what I mean? Like, it's just what it was, And she would always tell me how it would make her feel bad, and that, why would I need? And I always had the same excuse. And if you're guys out there, if you're listening to this, maybe you had the same excuse. I'm just looking at pictures. I'm not out cheating on you. That's the benefit of doing this. You know what I mean? I don't need to be out doing something else. And I realize now how skewed my thinking was. How I was not, I was not even close to accurate. It took several years for me to finally stop looking at porn, but I found that after I did, that component of our relationship got stronger. It actually brought us closer. I didn't have the guilt. I didn't have the sneaky feeling, because I wasn't trying to hide it from her. I didn't at first, and then it became where I feel bad all the time whenever she would find out. So it was this guilt always hanging in the air, And then I started really thinking about it, like, oh, my kids. I've got kids in the house. Like, what am I doing? Why am I looking at this stuff? This is somebody else's kids. You know what I mean? Like, those thoughts, I started thinking them intentionally. It didn't creep in my mind. I intentionally started thinking, well, this is somebody's kid. In order to get myself to kind of not want to do it. And it took a while. It took me probably a good year of trying, maybe a little longer.
And then you start reading the Bible.
Yeah, that helped too. Honestly, it was my wife feeling this way, and then me having empathy for that, really being empathetic and understanding where she was coming from. I wouldn't want her looking at, doing that over some other guy. So why would I do that to her? Why would I put her through that? And honestly, like, did it make you more attracted to me when I stopped?
Yeah, it made it a lot easier to turn you on with the 12-year-old sitting in the room.
We don't have to get graphic, huh?
But yeah, it was definitely like easier and more attractive, because knowing that you're just genuinely attracted to me and you only see me and you're not like trying to envision somebody else.
Oh, and that's the hard part, especially when you watch this stuff regularly. That's what happens. Like, it sucks your sexuality away. You imagine, like, I don't know about you guys out there, but some of you guys could probably understand this. Like, you start getting into it with your wife, and then you're imagining other things in your head in order to
maintain.
Yeah. And that was sucky. I remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, I have to do this in order to be okay.
You're
like,
not like in the present of it, in the moment of it, and so you have to like try to generate like the
images in your head. Yeah, and that's a
it takes
slippery slope to go down. They're wondering, no wonder why there's so much ED right now, erectile dysfunction amongst guys. Like, it's a big problem from what I understand, and it makes sense. The more you look at this stuff, the more you need it. It is addictive.
Yeah, and then you depending on drugs, and then that affects your heart, and that's why like people are like having heart attacks, dropping dead in like in their 40s.
Yeah, that was a tough one too.
It's how long has it been? 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, it's been several years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I'm glad. I'm genuinely happy because I had like I said, it was always a guilt too. And again, if there's guys out there listening, you probably understand what I mean. There's always, even if it's not a lot, there's always that little inkling in the back of your head that says, should I be doing this? And the answer is probably no, build a better relationship with your wife. All right. I already talked about success not being a number. That's how your family treats each other. And that's huge. This is something I was talking about earlier, but just the way you see your kids interact with each other, the way they interact with your wife, and recognizing the way you interact with your wife, that is I think a better measurement of success than numbers, than financially speaking. How many people out there are rich but they're miserable, right? I think that if you look at your family and the way they treat each other, your kids, especially the kids talking to each other, you know, you can demand a level of respect from your children, and they'll do it out of fear. But the way they talk to each other is really, I think, that window into how they were raised. It is truly the window into how successful you are as a parent, you know. And I'll be honest with you, my kids, they're cats and dogs, and I thought that's how they're supposed to be, right? Brothers and sisters are supposed to fight cats and dogs, but I don't think so anymore. I realize now that when I see them fighting, it's just me having arguments with myself, and I don't like it. What do you think, honey?
I agree.
I'm like, got this whole show up on my shoulders, carrying the load. All right. Yeah, I have my notes in here saying I'm still working on that one. So yeah, family treating each other is a big one, and I wish I would have known that sooner, because man, I would have treated the kids differently. You know, you used to have some kind words and positive words instead of criticism. They react differently. You know, like if I would be more positive. And I have been trying to lately. I've definitely cut down on the yelling. Like I shouldn't be yelling at all. You know, it's not a way to handle it. But I've definitely cut way down on the yelling. But if I had more positive words towards them and towards each other along the way, they'd have a much better relationship than they do right now. So I'm working on this. But for y'all out there, especially those who are just having kids, it's good to know. The kids are a reflection. Their relationship with each other is a reflection of your relationship with your wife and with them. So, sound about right?
Yep.
Right.
You've got this, honey.
I think the next one is a lesson that was hard to hear too, for me. Helping is truly more important than getting ahead, and you think that as a moral compass type thing, you know. I mean, like, yeah, you should always help instead of, you know, worrying about what you're going to get out of it. But really actually thinking and stopping and recognizing what that means, like helping without expecting something in return, you know what I mean? It's more important than getting ahead. The karma is a real thing. I believe it 100%. And I know for myself, I haven't done enough helping. Whenever I was performing a function or doing a job and I was helping somebody, I was in my head thinking, how is this person going to pay me back for this? Or what are they going to do for me with this? We were just talking about this today, you know, like I'm training somebody to do something, and I'm looking at it more like a favor, like, hey, yeah, let me just do this for you. Like, I want to do it because this opportunity was presented to me, and now I want to help somebody else learn how to do it. And my wife, not being greedy, because she's actually the one who's taught me how to be more giving, because I wasn't. I grew up without a lot of money. You know, I didn't have a lot. I grew up in a very difficult situation. Not as bad as her at parts of it, but grew up in a difficult situation. But I didn't have family there either to depend on. So like everything I got, I either had to. I lied. I stole. You know, I did what I needed to do to get what I needed in life for a while, you know. And I always had to look out for me. You know, even when it came to food, like I had to worry about where I was going to get food from.
When we first got together, it was like really bad. He never wanted to share his food. And I was like, why are you touching my food? I'm like, what do you mean? Why can't we eat family style? You order this, I'll order this, and then we can share. It's like, why? And I'm just like, that was like the oddest thing to me.
I needed my own plate. Like, she would be eating hers, she'd be like, let me try yours, and she'd just grab food off my plate, and I would physically twinge. I'd be like, oh, what are you doing? You know, like, I'm like, you got a full plate right there. I would yell at her, and then she'd look at me, she's startled because I just throttled her like one of the children. I'm like, and then I'd yell at them like, what are you doing? Oh yeah. But I was, you know, I was worried about me. It was a self-preservation for so long that when it came to having a family, you know, the kids, and right now this is a problem they still have. You know, they're like, they have a hard time sharing. They're working on it. And they're genuinely making an effort, and I'm making an effort too, because, you know, I think I've relaxed on that, have I?
Yeah. I do it on purpose now.
Yeah. And I'm just like, here, you know, I make extra now because I know what's up. But that was it. Like I had to always look out for myself, you know, and what am I going to get out of this? you know. And it's like that for any aspect of life, not just marriage. Huge in marriage, you know. Like, am I doing this for her? Why am I doing this for her? Why am I giving her this back rub? Am I giving her this back rub because I'm hoping to get lucky tonight? Am I giving her this back rub so that she doesn't mind when I go out this weekend? Am I doing this because I'm expecting something? And most of my relationship, most of our marriage, that's where I was at. I was checks and balances all the way, you know. And it was frustrating because she wouldn't reciprocate what I thought I should get, you know. And then I'd get resentful and be irritated towards her, and she'd be like, "Why are you mad?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I rubbed your feet," you know. And then she'd be like, "Well, you don't want to do that," and then I was stuck like, "Well, yeah," you know. And I just still didn't even get it then. It's not until really, you know, more recently that I realized that it's not about what you get out of it. It's what you're doing to be genuine, you know. And I lacked, what's the word? Is it genuinity? Genuineness? What's the word? What's the adjective for genuine? I lacked the ability to be genuine. I don't know. Like, I wasn't very
authenticity.
Authentic. There you go. I lacked authenticity. Like, I did. You know, I was doing things, and don't get me wrong. Like, I never considered myself two-faced or anything like that. But I definitely always had a side motive for what I was doing. You know. But
I think everybody does, though.
They do, but that's something you really got to lose if you want to have happiness. You know, it's part of being happy. Mm-hmm. You want to have a happy relationship with anybody. You want a happy relationship with your friends. Then you go help them without expecting them to come help you.
Zero expectations, so you're never disappointed.
You're never disappointed. You know what I mean? And the more you do that for people, yeah, you're going to have the occasional letdown. You're going to have the occasional person who's a jerk and really wasn't a good friend. But most of the time, if you're, and this goes back to the karma thing, if you're a genuinely good human to people, they're going to be a good human back. You know, you're going to get something in return. And you can't do it for that purpose, but karma's real, I think.
Yeah. Let's go back to the example you were about to tell us.
Which one?
About training somebody, and then you were saying, like, oh, she's really not that greedy.
Wait, what?
What was your example? You were talking about training someone.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm. Someone asked me to train somebody to do what I'm currently doing, and my wife was like, you know, she's like, well, you know, are they going to give you some extra cash for that? Are they going to give you some money?
When it comes to like your work, you should negotiate because you're really not.
And to an extent, I agree. And so she's not being greedy on this aspect. I agree that's. You know, I'm performing, I'm helping somebody, you know, to do a job where, you know, they can make, you know, X amount of money, and the expectation typically is, you know, if you're training, you should get paid more. But my situation being a bit unconventional with work, I'm working for myself, and I'm teaching somebody else how to do something that I do, but I was taught by the people who asked me to teach this person to do what they do. To do this, and I am just so thankful that I have the opportunity to do what I'm doing. I already trained one guy, and that was like a year and a half ago, right? About a year ago, was started probably, right? Was it that long ago? Yeah,
no, probably like 6 months ago,
6-7 months ago. It was.
But you're reciprocating now. You're returning the favor.
Yeah, you know, when I was training him, I was thinking to myself like, man, I hope you know, what do I get out of this? I'm teaching somebody, you know, like, hopefully I get something out of this. And I wasn't like being a jerk about it. But I definitely had that, you know, what I get out of this, you know.
And then I reminded you that.
Well, no, it wasn't you. It was my friend Joel. He reminded me. I told you we were camping, and he told me that the guy who gave me this ability, this job to do, wanted to throw some extra money my way for some errors that had happened, but also for training this guy. And he told him, he's like, no, Rick is a good dude. Like, he doesn't need that. He totally would turn that down. But so I was a bit heartbroken at first. Like, I was like, ugh. And then but then as he was talking, I'm just like, his view of me was more important than that money. You know what I mean? At that moment. And I was like, that's the view I want to have of myself. You know what I mean? And had I opened my mouth before he said that, it would have ruined the image, and I hope if he listens to this that it doesn't ruin the image in his head, because I learned from that moment. You know what I mean? But Had I opened my mouth and been like, yeah, that would be awesome, or can you still talk to him? That'd make me look like a jackhole. You know what I mean? And honestly, I want to be that person. I've told my wife this for a long time, for years. I want to be that person that gives. I want to be that person that does things for people without expecting a return. And I didn't know how to do it. She knows how to do it. She knows how to do it. In fact, she was having some hard times, right? With
giving too much.
Giving too much. You know, she was really putting herself out there, and people were starting to take advantage, you know. So she needed a little bit of my temperance, but I definitely learned a lot from my wife in that aspect. And this is something I wish I would have known sooner. It probably made life a lot easier for the two of us.
Which is probably why God put us together.
Definitely. Yeah. It's kind of funny the way that works, right? We've always talked about how her strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are her weaknesses. But we never really figured out how to put them together. You know what I mean? How to put them together and make it work for us, you know? The show I'm watching, and we've watched it in the past for the last several years, but on and off from time to time. But now we've been binge watching the show Fixer Upper. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Fixer Upper, you know, Chip and Joanna Gaines. Love their story. And the more I watch it, they are polar opposites. And they remind me of me and my wife. And I'm like, man, they've got it figured out. Like, they've got the puzzle pieces in place. And I've spent the last, honestly, 15 years now, like, spent the last 15 years just screwing it all up, you know? Like, it's like those cogs that are trying to fit together, and it's like they don't quite, you don't have them quite lined up right, so it doesn't fit together. When we do finally start fitting together, you know, it's gonna be awesome. We'll be unstoppable. I feel like we're headed in that direction, you know, over the last few weeks. And I will tell you guys this. I lost my sister last year, and alcohol had been becoming a large problem for me. I was drinking a lot, and it actually got to the point where it was causing problems for me. A lot of psychological stuff going on, and physically I was ill. And it was very scary. I was in the emergency room 5 times in the span of like 2 months, and you know, I thought I wasn't going to be okay, you know, and then learning what I've had to learn over especially the last couple months, you know, about being thankful and grateful. It's been life-changing, and I don't think we'd be doing this podcast right now had I not learned the lessons I learned from what I had to go through over the last year, you know? Yeah. Some difficult times, but, you know, I believe God puts it in your way. The way I see it, and I've heard this before, and I can't remember who said it, but, you know, you got to make changes in your life, or else God's going to make you change. You know, and you'd rather do it before he makes you change. And I didn't do it. I didn't stop the drinking and the smoking until God had to put his hand in and say, hey, look, you know, you're done with this now. So, had to learn a lot of tough lessons. Again, things I wish I would have known back then. But, you know,
you're stubborn.
I am stubborn. I like to think I'm flexible, but
No.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, you're not flexible.
No. Do you have another thing that you wish you knew before you wish you knew then?
Maybe it's just my personality type, or just who I am. I kind of like adapt as I go, so I don't really.
You never really regret anything.
No.
I mean, she has some regrets, but not
do.
many.
I make mistakes, and they're dumb, but you know. I don't dwell on them. I learn from them, and I just make better decisions next time.
I like it.
Like marrying you.
which is just now starting to pay dividends. Like, it took a long time for it to start paying out. Like, yeah. If I knew how much, this is a good one actually. This is sort of the encumbrance of the whole thing as well. If I knew how much I loved, If I knew how much I would come to truly and deeply love my wife, I would have treated her better to start. I didn't know how difficult it would be to leave my old self behind. This is a lesson that was, I could see it, but I couldn't fix it. I didn't know how. Uh, right after we got married, I realized it was like literally the day after. It was like I felt it. Like it was a change, and it was an uncomfortable change. Not that I didn't love my wife, but it was like right away I realized that I
You're
could
not
no.
single anymore.
Well, yeah, I could. Well, I could no longer be that person I was, and I was very outgoing, very flirtatious. I was, I had no problems meeting women, and all of a sudden I couldn't be that person anymore. And if I did, then I was flirting with danger. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't want to be that way. I didn't want to have a bad relationship. I didn't want to be unfaithful. I didn't want those things. But not wanting it and then actually being in that position were two different things. Like actually realizing it. And I had a hard time to start. You know what I mean? Like, I resented my wife, and she'll tell you probably that I was kind of mean to her. Like, when the first couple of years we were married, I was very short tempered with her. I would go out with the guys on Sunday nights, after work, and I'd come home 4 or 5 in the morning, and then she'd be like, "Why are you home so late?" And I'd be like, "Heck, I can't have this one night with my guys." I'd erupt about it. But I did stop going. I cut it down to every other weekend, then once a month, then I just stopped. So she still eventually won that. But the point was, I was doing it because I wasn't happy. But I wasn't happy because I didn't realize I needed to change. And I didn't realize how much change was involved with getting married. I thought we're together. We're already together. We've been together for a while. This is going to be great. Now we're officially together. And it wasn't. It was a different feeling, and it was incredibly difficult to leave the old version. And I still didn't do it. Like, I left parts of my old version behind. The lesser form of myself, I've left parts behind along the way. Like I said, giving up porn, trying to make these changes along the way. But I still didn't give up the full lesser version of myself.
Do you think that's why some people just never gets married and just stay together?
Yeah.
So that they don't have to go through that, like, change?
Yeah. I believe that. I believe it's easier to stay in a relationship than to actually make the commitment. And although it's just a piece of paper and some words, it does mean something.
It's a vow.
It is a vow. And this should be a vow. It shouldn't be just a piece of paper and some words. It should mean something. I think a lot of people get married and they have all this wishy-washy, lovey-dovey, and then next thing you know, a year later, you're going through the growing pains of beginnings of marriage, and it's easy to forget at that point how in love you were to make that commitment in the first place. I don't even think it's about the commitment itself. I think people forget how much they actually loved this person to start. The inability to escape. It's like you're telling. It's when somebody tells you that you can't do something. What is it you want to do? You want to do that thing that they told you can't do. Your parents says, "Hey, you know what? I'm trying to think of something that's not dirty." It's a porn or masturbation. There was some kind of joke in there, but your parents tell you, "Hey, I don't want you staying up late watching TV." And what do you do when they go to bed? Stay up late and watch TV. It's the same thing being married. Now we're dating, so there's all that option of leaving. Now you have to be here. Now that's when people pull back, and that's how I felt. It felt like all of a sudden I was trapped. And you feel like you want to pull back. And I think most people pull back and always keep a part of themselves back. Even if they stayed married, they always retain that part where, well, if worse comes to worse, we could always leave. And don't get me wrong, like, we've thrown that at each other. We agreed a while back to take divorce off the table. Like, it was not a threat that we could make to each other. It wasn't something we were ever willing to do. But we kind of worked around it because we both had different points where she's like, "You know what? I think you should just go find another place to live out the suburbs and just go be happy." It wasn't, "Let's get divorced." And I said the same thing. I'm like, "I might have to leave one day and get myself a place out in the suburbs," and she's like, "Oh, so we're getting divorced?" I'm like, No, we're not getting divorced." And that usually backs us down. No, we're not going to get divorced. But I just think leaving that part behind is incredible. I don't know if it's more difficult. Did you feel that way? No, you were just happy to be there.
I mean, like, I never had an issue with committing.
See, I've always had commitment issues, committing to things. There's always been an anxiety there. Once I say yes, it's final, And yeah, I felt it. It took me a few years to really kind of get over that feeling, and it was rocky, we were, I like to think we were happy. We had some really good times, but we also had some really tough times, I made a lot of mistakes for a long time. It shocks me, honestly, that she's still with me.
Well, I guess, like, the takeaway from this is that, like, one person has to be really level-headed and stable, and then the other person is allowed to be, like, my husband.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my daughter. Oh no, I got it down here. Okay, no, we're good.
Yeah. No, yeah, but did you get that? The takeaway is that, like, in a relationship, one person just has to be the level-headed one, the grounded one, and the other one is just, like, dumb and stupid and just have to learn by mistakes, and then you just have to kind of, like, stick with it until they finally, like, have that aha moment 15 years later and, like, okay. And then now he has to obey all the time.
Wow. That changed pace real quick. It's not. I didn't see that coming. I was just blindsided. Like, oh.
I'm just kidding.
No,
really.
She's not. She's not. Yeah, she likes the whole obey thing. So,
hey, it like really like solidified for me when I see a couple on TV and the wife demands obedience and the husband gives it to her, and so I'm like, okay, so it's not like just me.
The part you're not seeing is the concession she's making behind the scenes. He's a guy who's just wishy-washy. That's another story. And the ones who are successful, they let the wife appear like she's in control. You got whatever you want. But when he puts his foot down, that's the moment that she goes, okay, he doesn't ask for much. This is important. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that's how it should be? I think that's how it should be. I'm trying to get there, where I'm pretty much just like, yeah, okay. This one thing right here, I need this. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get there. Do you think we've been heading that direction?
Yeah, kind of.
So you're thinking kind of, not so much on your part, is where you're thinking?
Well, I don't know.
You're like, I have everything.
This is like recorded, so we're like, I'm kind of like not wanting to say anything that's gonna be recorded.
Wow.
I don't want to commit to anything.
I'm not afraid of commitment.
I don't want to like say something that slips my lips, and then you're just gonna be playing it back to me, and I'm just like,
that's the true reason why we're doing this podcast. So I have recorded proof, evidence. No, I'm. There should be a level of obey going both ways, and I like the idea of you just being able to do what you want. Like you're running free. Like if I tried to cage, the more I try to cage you, the more miserable you get. Although I did find, wow, that was really loud. Although I did find that the nicer I am and the more I give genuinely, not expecting you to reciprocate, the more you want to be around. Mm-hmm. So you've definitely wanted to be around more lately, which is great.
Making an effort, but I'm also in a position to leave.
Wait, what?
I'm in a position to leave.
To leave?
Work.
What? Oh, it's like, wait, what?
No, not.
I'm in the position to leave.
Well, I mean, like, I meant to say I'm in a position to, like, to kind of be in more control of my schedule at work and things. So, I couldn't afford that before. Now I can.
Getting weird.
Do you think we've been, like, getting off topic? How long have we been talking?
No, we're almost at the hour mark. We're at 54 minutes.
Oh, well, then we should probably, like, start tapering it off.
You want to start wrapping this up? Do you have a good time talking with me on these nice microphones?
Do you have a good time talking?
I actually really do. I really like these microphones. So we just got this set up to do this, like Like my wife,
This was my own birthday gift to
she
myself.
splurged on this. I wasn't like she's
She
like
yelled at me.
She's like, "Do you want to get? I want to get a set for doing a podcast." I'm like, "All right." And then she told me how much she spent on it. I was like, "I got some microphones in like in a box in my room somewhere, some old cameras." She's like, "Oh, let's do it right." Now hearing my voice in this, I'm glad we did. It's good.
And usually I don't like to hear the sound of my voice, but this makes it.
It's nice.
Yeah, I'm not annoyed by the sound of my voice. It's so weird.
Me neither, for some reason.
But you like to hear yourself talk.
I do. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. We're glad you joined us, and yeah, we're gonna try and do this every week. We plan on doing this every week, and hopefully, again, hearing our stories, we'll be able to help you all. And we're having
Maybe it'll help one couple, and that should be good enough. Like, mainly we're doing this for ourselves, really, is to commit to a time where we spend with each other quality time. So tune in next time to the Legend of Dez.
to the Legend of Dez podcast.